Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing a strong meta team for this new Open Ultra League meta that I made and had great results with today. Now this team, by day's end, I was able to get my elo at 2305. This team is built around Poison Sting Tentacruel. Now Tentacruel has a lot of viable fast moves, but in the Ultra League where everything is so bulky, being able to spam out charge moves is king. And with Poison Sting, Scald is now old Whiscash counts 665, and for Blizzard it's 988, so the pacing is drastically improved. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1 we're off to a very nice start as Tentacruel is core breaking a Weezing plus Primeape core. Primeape would be an absolute disaster for my backline, so I'm more than happy just to stay in here with the Tentacruel and play this out. The idea from this team comes from a very old Ultra League team that I had built way back in the day, and that was Tentacruel, Greedent, and Guzzlord. That team was good for so long, unfortunately until Greedent got very heavily nerfed. And now, I'm trying kind of a new age version of it with Credilli as the safe swap. The moment I see Galarian Moltres, I just pivot into Credilli, and that's going to lure back out the Galarian Weezing, and once I do this, the game is effectively over. Galarian Moltres is a Pokemon that's now very, very strong in the Ultra League with its updated move Fly, and that's one thing that I did like about this team, is this entire team is able to beat Galarian Moltres. Obviously, you have Rock Tomb from Credilli hitting for big, super effective damage, you have Blizzard on Tentacruel, and Guzzlord is able to resist Sucker Punch, which is a very valuable thing if you're trying to shut down the bird. I get to fire off another Rock Tomb. Here, I'm going to go for good timing. My opponent will fire off one final move. It is, of course, very heavily debuffed. They show that they actually have Return. You love to see it. They had the Purified Aura, but I wasn't expecting Return, so big props to them, and now we just get to send in Guzzlord. At this point, this is a very straightforward game. My opponent can never click Brave Bird here, so I can always no shield. The reason why they can't click Brave Bird is A, Brave Bird does not KO, and B, this is their final Pokemon. So if they click Brave Bird, their defense is going to be -3 for the rest of the game, and I can just fast move down relatively easily. Instead, they're forced to try and make it to 4 flies, and the pacing is just not in their favor. I'm already over 1 Dragon Claw here, so I will get to fire off this move. Dragon Claw is going to be shielded, and now I will be able to make it to 1 final Dragon Claw to pick up the KO and take the win. Galarian Moltres is going to fire off 1 final fly. I'm still going to go for good timing here though, firing off the Dragon Tail and the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to knock Galarian Moltres out of the sky, and we take a Game 1 win. Moving into game number 2, and it's a great lead, Tentacruel staring down a Chestnut. Now Chestnut, not a Pokemon that's basically ever used in the Ultra League, so seeing it here does raise an eyebrow, because normally people would just use Virizion, as Virizion is the better Mon. Here, they save switch into the Drapion, and I get to respond with a complete wall to Drapion's energy, and that is Guzzlord. This matchup is made substantially better by the fact that the crunch debuff chance is lower this season, as obviously with no crunch debuffs, honestly, things are feeling pretty nice for the Guzzlord. Guzzlord will make it to the Dragon Claw, and I'm fully expecting their third Pokemon is going to be Bellybolt. The line construction just makes too much sense. They have the thing that completely destroys Mudslappers on the lead, a save swap to lure out the Mudslappers, so it only makes sense that their third will be Bellybolt, and if that's the case, they're probably pretty happy to bait out the Guzzlord, but they don't know that unfortunately their fate is sealed with Credilli being able to shut down in the endgame. My opponent is actually going to have to throw here. This is where Virizion is so much better than Chestnut. Virizion could have double kicked down. Chestnut never could farm down there. I send in Tentacruel. There's Bellybolt, and I get to respond with Credilli. Bellybolt does have a small energy head start, allowing them to outpace and make it to the first parabolic charge. Now, I'm going to be firing off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb, never going to do a ton of damage here. My opponent is going to end up committing the shield as they just look to ramp up Bellybolt more and more and more. Their goal is basically to try and make Bellybolt unkillable with parabolic charges. My goal is to lower their attack so that way they can't really do any damage to the Credilli, and then slowly start chipping away. I'm going to watch for a catch. There is the catch attempt. We're not going to let that happen. And since they switched out, the game is just over. I mean, granted, we were going to be able to take the win anyway, but now that they've switched out of their boosted defense, they no longer have any ability to tank charge moves. So Scald is going to pick up the KO, back in comes the Bellybolt, I'm going to be shielding up the parabolic charge, they get to buff their defense back by 1 stage, but they're still not where they were. And now I build up to the Blizzard, and I will go for the Scald. Scald is going to do some solid damage, there's the switch timer up, and now we get to go for a combo play with the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb plus Scald will be enough to KO the Bellybolt, and with very favorable alignment on our side and making the team read that switch advantage was important, we're able to take the win. We move to the next match, picking up a negative lead Tentacruel into Stunfisk. Now, with the new pacing, Tentacruel is a lot closer to keeping pace with the Stunfisk, and now I already have the energy for the Scald as they fire off the Mud Bomb. But I think I'm going to take advantage of the new pacing here and go for Blizzard, as Blizzard is going to hit for massive damage if it lands. Blizzard, big damage onto the Stunfisk, in comes Credilli, opponent sends out a Shadow Claw Golisopod, and the fact that this is Shadow Claw, I can guaranteed flip switch if I want to. Rock Tomb is going to land, that's big damage, opponent now gets to fire off super effective X Scissors, but with my Rock Tomb debuff already applied, I can actually survive 2 here. So instead of making a play for switch, I'm going to make a play for shield advantage Guzzlord to sweep this game. I get to overfarm massively here, and guess what? They can't even Shadow Claw down. With all the debuffs from XL Credilli, they're going to have to throw here. Opponent realizes it, they fire off energy, they're heavily debuffed. I'm going to get a nice farm down with the Guzzlord, and it's Guzzlord up energy and up a shield versus the world. So I get the farm down with the Guzzlord. Let's see, what do you got? Oh no, it's a Clefable! And the moment I see that Clefable, I knew I should have played for switch. If I played for switch, this was an incredibly easy game as Clefable can't do anything to Tentacruel. But unfortunately, I don't have switch, which means that these Thunder Shocks just add up more and more and more, and it's going to put me in a range where I actually get knocked out by a move from Clefable. So now I will fire off the Scald. Even if I get to land a Scald here, unfortunately, that still will not put it in a range where I can knock them out with a potential crunch. I do get the Scald debuff, which means that even with how low I am, I do actually live a Moonblast, but even if I land the Scald, it's just not enough. And I've learned my lesson. Next time I see a Fisk lead, I need to play for switch. We move to the next match, staring down a non-Shadow Dusknoir. Here my opponent actually throws on alignment there, maybe anticipating me to try and fish for a Scald debuff, but never gonna go for that. I'm more than happy to take the free Poison Sting though, as that is so much free energy. Scald does not two-shot, so I have a bit of an evil plan. My opponent knows they can live a Scald, so I'm just gonna fire off Blizzard here. Let's see, are they going to respect it? They do not, and they get KO'd, losing a ton of energy. Out comes Bellybolt, I pivot into Credilli. Credilli is gonna bait out an XXL Fury Cutter Golisopod, oh my goodness. And baiting this out means we just win this game, because the Bellybolt is going to get stuck against my Guzzlord in the endgame. I'm going to be shielding up here as they fire off the X Scissor and going for the Rock Tomb. Unfortunately, I will get outpaced. I'm willing to commit 1 shield, I will not commit a second. And now, it looks like that was actually a charge check priority tie. I will get to fire off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is going to land, getting my opponent very low. They're going to be unable to farm down here. The debuffs that Credilli can apply and its bulk is just a nasty combination. I bring in Guzzlord, anticipating my opponent is just going to blind switch here. And Guzzlord is in a great spot to close out the game versus Bellybolt. Bellybolt will go for the Parabolic Charge. Their only hope to try and clutch this out is to just buff up their defense to a point where they are unkillable. The Crunch does get shielded, but I'm still okay to let this go. They're stuck doing entirely resisted damage. Even though they keep buffing up their defense more and more, they're already below half HP. So the consistent Dragon Tail damage has really mattered throughout the course of this game. Another Crunch is gonna land. I keep farming. I actually switch here, anticipating my opponent to try and go for a catch. They don't end up going for the catch, but I can shield and have a guaranteed win con to click Scald. If my opponent catches, they undo all their defense buffs and they lose. If they stay in, they also lose, because then they just lose the Bellybolt. So that was a situation when I realized in the moment, I have a guaranteed win condition if I shield and just click the Scald, because wherever the move lands, I win the game. We see a familiar foe in the next match as Tentacruel is staring down Stunfisk, but this time I'm going to play it differently. I throw 1 Poison Sting save switch into Credilli, and my opponent is going to answer it with a Florges. Florges obviously can boost up its attack with Trailblaze, but I have the ability to lower it right back down with Rock Tomb. The last time I played against a Stunfisk lead, I didn't play for switch advantage, and it cost me the game. I lost because my Guzzlord ended up on a Fairy type. So the next time I see a Stunfisk lead, I'm going to look to apply the lesson that I learned. Here, my opponent only throws on 6. This is only enough for a Trailblaze. They need 7 for a Moonblast, so I'm going to be no shielding. And the fact that they just threw a Trailblaze there without building up means that now I mean, I was already going to win Switch, but by no shielding a Trailblaze, it just makes the Switch flip even easier for me. I will get to fire off Rock Tomb. Opponent realizes they are not winning Switch, so they no shield, hoping to make one final move, but I get that Bullet Seed farm down, and in the back, it is Clefable. You absolutely love to see it. Clefable absolutely destroyed my Guzzlord last time, but now we get revenge. As this Clefable is going to get completely destroyed by Tentacruel, in comes Stunfisk, in comes the Guzzlord to completely shut them down, and they will resign the match. We see another bad lead in the next match, Tentacruel a magnet for the ground types as I lead into Gastradon. I safe switch into Credilli looking for the switch out, but they're just not switching. They're staying in with a Gastradon into a grass type. I bait with the Rock Tomb. I even overfarmed in that matchup expecting them to try and catch a Gastrodon on 4, but they're just staying in. They fire off a debuffed Earth Power and now they send in Zygarde. Zygarde, if the Credilli is up energy and goes Rock Tomb on the first move, the matchup actually gets pretty uncomfortable for the Zygarde. Here, I do make the misplay of clicking Grass Knot first. Even though I'm this low, I should click Rock Tomb first because then I could have made 2 additional Grass Knots. Now I realize I'm actually going to get farmed down, so I aggressively pivot back into the Tentacruel. Now, most Zygarde are Bulldoze Outrage, so I let it go. It ends up being an Earthquake, but it's a debuffed Earthquake, so that's still fine by me. This is only enough for a crunch, so I'm still going to let this go, and this is a moment where the pacing on Tentacruel is so nice, because I can overfarm close to 100 energy, fire off the Blizzard, and watch this. When they bring back in this Gastrodon to farm down with the new pacing, I can get to the Scald. This pacing on Tenta is so incredibly nice. I get the attack drop, which is a bit of good luck for me, and now I have a choice to make. Do I shield the Guzzlord? I say yes, and in the back is Galarian Moltres. And having a fully healthy Guzzlord is incredibly important for me here. I get to fire off Dragon Claw. They no shield, which is the right call, as ideally you do want to let the first go if you're eventually going to go for Brave Bird. Brave Bird still will not knock out, so I'm going to let it through. It only ends up being a fly. This Dragon Claw will not knock out, but it will put them into farm down range, so that's going to pressure a shield. I continue to farm up with the Guzzlord opponent, going to fire off one final move. The thing I have to watch for here is a catch onto the Gastrodon. So I throw one, there's the catch attempt. I get the double up on Dragon Claws, and once I have the back-to-back moves, this game is just over. So I fire off the Dragon Claw, get to go for Dragon Claw number 2 against the Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres is gonna get KO'd, and Guzzlord doing a great job at taking home wins. Very nice lead in the next match, Tentacruel into Virizion. Opponent safe switches into Corviknight, and this is actually an uncomfortable matchup. Credilli does beat Corviknight in all evens, but if I'm down energy, then that's not the case. I get a Scald debuff, and here, honestly, I think I made a misplay. As soon as I got the debuff, I should have just sent in Guzzlord, as Guzzlord obviously could have done pretty okay there once the opponent's attack was lowered. But I end up letting them throw moves onto the Tentacruel, and that severely desyncs the switch timers. And that can potentially be very problematic, as now after this crunch, my opponent is going to be able to switch out and send in Virizion. Virizion is going to hit the field. I'm farming up with the Guzzlord, and they will get the double kick through as I fire off this Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to land. Guzzlord farming up here, going to make it to Dragon Claw number 2, but I lose charge attack priority. Virizion going to pick up the knockout with the Sacred Sword, and I send back in Tentacruel, and my opponent is going to end up throwing on alignment here. They will fire off the Leaf Blade. That's very okay. I look to overfarm, and I miscounted. For some reason, my count was off by 1. I should have thrown the Blizzard sooner, and now they combo me with the Corviknight, and I go from 2 shields to 0 in a split second, and that's just how to lose a winnable game right there. If I had just thrown the Blizzard before they got their third move, I would have been fine. Then I wouldn't have been down 2 shields. Now I'm down 2 shields to 0, so it doesn't matter what they have in the back. They have Bellybolt. So I included this game to show that I think the team is very, very strong, but operator error can definitely still cause losses, and operator error is going to make me lose here. The switch clocks are so misaligned. This was an incredibly poorly played game by me. My only hope is that if I can bullet seed this down and debuff a ton, maybe there's a chance. I'm going to try for it with the Credilli, but we cannot bullet seed down. I cannot escape from the mess that I have made, and I will concede the match. Hopping into the final match, and we see a bit of an uncomfortable Pokemon for this team on paper, as I'm staring down a Shadow Fortress. Now, this is a situation where the increased pacing on Tentacruel is really nice. As Fortress, we know the bug bites are incredibly oppressive, but it's not the fastest mon to get to an Earthquake. They just got the Earthquake right here, and getting that shield call right puts me so far ahead. They save switch into Bellybolt. I get to respond with Credilli, and Credilli is going to do amazingly here. With Credilli, I really like the fact that I can continually lower their attack, even as they buff up their defense more and more and make it harder and harder for me to knock them out. I can kind of do the same in a weird way. Obviously, I'm not buffing my defense, but I'm still reducing their damage by just lowering their attack. So they go for another Parabolic. Now I will actually go for a Grass Knot because Grass Knot does do more damage overall. So I fire off the Grass Knot, and I'm hoping that my next Grass Knot will be enough to pick up the KO. Ooh, I actually do get there. Let's see, it's going to be very close. Grass Knot does not KO. The 1 HP survive from my opponent. I stored a bunch of energy on Tenta. The moment they send in this Fortress, I'm not conceding this farm down. I'm just switching back in and launching a Scald. I want to put pressure on my opponent. They no shield. I can now farm this down. In the back is Galarian Moltres, and with a full Guzzlord in the back, this game is just a win. I get to fire off Scald, I baited the Blizzard, and I actually get an attack drop. That is a very fortunate attack drop for me. Either way, having the Guzzlord in the back, the game is still a win, but that attack drop, meaning that my opponent does not KO with the fly, just makes this game even easier. Now I get to send in the Guzzlord, and my opponent just has no Protect shields remaining. They fire off a move, that's gonna be the Brave Bird. There's the switch into Fortress just to get Dragon Tailed down by Guzzlord, and we get the back-to-back Dragon Claws to be able to take the game. So Fortress, on paper, is a bit of a core breaker for this team, but I do actually think it's surprisingly playable, as obviously Tentacruel has an ability to just dramatically outpace it, and if you end up baiting it out with the Credilli safe swap, then Credilli can debuff it and make it a lot less threatening for the Tentacruel. All in all, I think that the Tentacruel Guzzlord core is so back this season. I really like the new pacing on Tentacruel. It took a bit of adjustment because I am used to Tentacruel having fast move pressure, and now it doesn't have the fast move pressure, but I think that the new pacing was really beneficial in a lot of matchups where previously Tenta just kind of got really outsped. Like, there were so many different matchups where it was getting outpaced like crazy, and now with Poison Sting, it's so much faster. We know back when Whiscash was at its strongest, that 665 Scald pacing is pretty sick. And having that pacing back with Ultra League Tentacruel, I think is really nice. And specifically, the increased pacing on Blizzard is really helpful in the Zygarde matchup, as previously with how expensive Blizzard was on Tentacruel, honestly, its life was a bit uncomfortable in that matchup, even with Blizzard, because in the twos, if Zygarde got the shield calls right, then Zygarde was able to farm down. Whereas now with the faster pacing and being able to get to more moves, that matchup gets a lot more uncomfortable for our good friend Zygarde. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.